minutes. We just left a young man who was shot to death on the street right here, right outside of your door. It was extraordinary because, I mean, now it really is starting to get to the situation at hand where you have people with guns and you have a lawlessness out there. And that's why I've been going around to different stations and saying, just please, if you understand what we're going through right now, if you have any loved ones, if you have anyone out in the street, if they come back, keep them in the house. Yeah. Don't let them go out anymore. And this has gone way beyond what we would normally say would be something that could be handled. There's not enough police officers. There are not enough National Guard. There are not enough anything to keep what is happening right now down. Get off the streets.
There's a good advice, especially with a curfew on.
It's not a message of protest. It's been the brutality of a mob, pure and simple. What we saw last night and the night before in Los Angeles is not about civil rights. I will use whatever force is necessary to restore order. What is going on in LA must and will stop. As your president, I guarantee you this violence will end.
There's no troops down here. There's no bloods down here. There's just concerned citizens down here that don't like the way the system is done. This is what we're talking about.
Charlie, sir, could you tell me?
The police are closing in. They're trying to surround us.
Okay, that was all right. You did that. They cut us.
Huh?
They cut us when you did that.
For the LAPD trial, only 5 were black.
I've been around a lot longer than that.
That's when you want votes and all. You want your it's a publicity stuff. I know what it is.
Excuse me, you said you have the community, but how do you know about the community? Do you live over here? Do you know the situation our community is in?
So I'm coming to talk to the people.
But it makes a difference if you live here and you be here and you know what's going on. That makes a great difference. Because talking can't help nothing. That's like a cover.
We understand you're not here to argue.
So you don't know what to share.
You don't have to argue. You don't have to argue.
We're not arguing.
Television has become a medium that often brings us together, but its vivid display of Rodney King's beating shocked us. And the America it has shown us on our screens these last 48 hours has appalled us.
Director Deutsch, as a former Los Angeles police narcotics detective, that the agency has dealt drugs throughout this country for a long time. I refer to it.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute here. Wait a minute. If you don't like what's going on here, please leave now.
Director Deutsch, I will refer you to 3 specific agency operations known as Amadeus, Pegasus, and Watchtower. I have Watchtower documents heavily redacted by the agency. I was personally exposed to CIA operations and recruited by CIA personnel who attempted to recruit me in the late 70s to become involved in protecting agency drug operations in this country. I have been trying to get this out for 18 years, and I have the evidence. My question for you is very specific, sir. If in the course of the IG's investigations and Fred Hitz's work, you come across evidence of severely criminal activity,
Let him speak
and it's classified, will you use that classification to hide the criminal activity, or will you tell the American people the truth?
If you have information about CIA illegal activity in drugs, you should immediately bring that information to wherever you want, but let me suggest 3 places. The Los Angeles Police Department,
Wait a minute.
Sir, I want to thank you.
coming. You were at the last meeting. The staff probably had the spelling of your name wrong, but we would like to talk to you. We have been looking for a couple of days for you, and we want to make sure that you contact the committee, because obviously you have some valuable information.
This is a clear blue sky day in Manhattan. If this was an accident, it would be a needle in a haystack kind of accident. I'm afraid we've got a tragedy on our hands. This is horrible.
Have you seen any evidence, Elliot, of people being taken out of the building? You say that emergency vehicles are there.
This is a legit building.
Of course, the major concern is human loss.
Oh my God! Another plane has just hit. Oh, another one just hit.
Oh my God.
Directly over my door.
Oh my goodness. Oh God. There's another one. There was another one.
Running away very, very quickly. There are more explosions further down the building.
Explosion.
The building's exploding right now. You got people running up the street. Everybody's panicking. Clearly the thing is out of control.
One of our producers said perhaps a second plane was involved. You saw a
yes,
plane?
I just saw a plane go into the building.
That looks like a second plane.
It could be a 727 right there, maybe even bigger.
This one into the East Tower.
Yes. I wonder if there are air traffic control problems.
Another passenger plane hitting the World Trade Center. These pictures are frightening indeed.
This is so shocking, of course, to everybody watching.
What we've just seen is about the most shocking videotape I've ever seen.
What are the odds of two separate planes hitting both towers?
And now you have to move from talk about a possible accident to talk about something deliberate. This has to be deliberate, folks.
Why do you say that was definitely on purpose?
Because it just flew straight into it. It literally flew itself into World Trade Center.
I think we have a terrorist act of proportions that we cannot begin to imagine at this juncture.
Oh my God.
My goodness.
Oh, this is terrifying. Awful.
That is a very hard thing to watch. To watch powerless is a horror.
What we have been fearing for the longest time here apparently has come to pass.
President Bush has been informed of this incredible tragedy happening in New York. ABC's Peter Jennings is at the anchor desk and is now in position.
There is chaos in New York at the moment. There is confusion in Washington. The FBI is already investigating reports that a plane was actually hijacked.
Early reports are that at least one of those planes was a hijacked American Airlines plane en route from Boston to Los Angeles.
The crash of these two aircraft into the towers of the World Trade Center in New York appear to be an act of terrorism.
We want to also remind people that the World Trade Center bombing that took place on February 26th back in 1993, the product of a terrorist attack, the result of a terrorist attack that killed 6 people and injured more than 1,000.
And the explosion happened in a garage in the basement. This was a direct hit on the midsection or upper section of the tower, so the potential for injuries and death much larger. Of course,
also some people on the planes.
We have no idea what the evacuation procedure is in the building.
When the impact hit the first tower, you would hope that people who were in the second tower were beginning to evacuate.
At this time, all elevators are out in both towers, according to the rescue workers on the scene. And people will have a long, horrendous, terrifying walk down in a darkened building.
Can you characterize the scene down there right now for us?
Thousands of people that have been running from inside these buildings, and they say there was just pandemonium. There was no warning, no alarms, no anything. Everyone just raced from their desks, ran downstairs, and now there's a steady stream of folks running away from the building.
The person who answered the phone on the trading floor at interdealer broker Cantor Fitzgerald, located near the top of the World Trade Center, said, "We're blanking dying," when asked what was happening, and hung up. There was screaming and yelling in the background, and a follow-up call was not answered.
I gather this incredible scene down there.
We have a report of 6 people dead and 1,000 injured, but those numbers are certainly going to go up.
The trading on the New York Stock Exchange has been suspended.
Newark and LaGuardia particularly have already suspended operations.
The Empire State Building was put on alert.
Now we have a no-fly zone all around the lower part of New York City.
The Lincoln Tunnel has been closed here in New York.
Bridges and tunnels coming into New York have been closed.
Are now shut.
Including the National Zoo.
Security has been heightened at federal courts. All federal buildings, we are now learning, in West Virginia, in Maryland, in Pennsylvania, and in Delaware are closed. In Dallas, offices evacuated. In
White House Situation Room is a bomb shelter.
That's either U.S. Air Force or Navy aircraft, fighter aircraft, now on patrol, lest there be one more attempt.
For that location. I mean, the wind. We don't know for that location. I mean, the wind.
It's desperate conditions like these that have now taken the lives of at least 44 people of
kind of strange here. It's a boat. It's a boat and a car that's been flipped over. How did this happen? It's so hard to explain some of these things.
More than a quarter of a mile wide, rising some 16,000 feet into the air, churning across the ground for as long as 80 minutes, whatever you call it. The firestorm that burned into Reading last week was not something we see very often, and even the experts are at a loss for words. Alright, so we're back at the dam. Can only make it up by 4.5 miles. telephone? His telephone? Yep, wants power.
Bringing family members out and having the windows of their car explode from the conditions that were out there. So the number one priority for us is always getting people out as quickly as possible, and it always breaks our heart when we can't get everybody out. Kind of what people are calling a weather phenomenon or an anomaly where an actual possible vortex came through here. And that's literally fire behavior that we have not experienced or seen or witnessed.
A freak of nature, the Fire-nado.
KPIX5 reporter Wilson Walker spoke with experts about the dramatic weather event. Wilson?
Well, more than a quarter of a mile wide, rising some 16,000 feet into the air, churning across the ground for as long as 80 minutes, whatever you call it. The firestorm that burned into Reading last week was not something we see very often, and even the experts are at a loss for words.
Heat was rapidly rising off the ground, and that's what happened with this fire whirl. You saw a lot of erratic winds and the intense heating that had to escape and go upward, and with that created this monster fire whirl that we saw.
That is Michael Kachasik with the National Weather Service, part of a multi-agency team trying to better understand the incredible winds that surrounded and drove the car fire, causing widespread damage even in areas where the fire itself did not burn.
Preliminarily, they saw uprooted trees, bark stripped from a tree, which is pretty impressive. That takes an incredible amount of wind, as well as high tension wire utility poles knocked down as well from the wind.
And the best metric they've come up with for this kind of event, an EF3 tornado on the Fujita scale.
Very, very impressive wind speeds, estimated to be in excess of 143 miles per hour.